ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामय सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखात् भाग् भवेत्. We pray for the peace and happiness of one and all. May everyone be comfortable at all levels of the personality, healthy and happy. Spiritually, may we see that which is auspicious and divine. May there be no suffering anywhere. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So we'll start the fourth chapter today. So there is a beautiful sequence of thought. If you go to the contents, the Bhagavad Gita begins with Arjuna's collapse. He emotionally collapsed. The flood of emotions overwhelms him. And to win his confidence, in the second chapter, Sri Krishna gives him the highest knowledge, just to shake him up, just to wake him up, like almost like a shock therapy. But it is also in keeping with the tradition where the highest knowledge is imparted first. So Arjuna wakes up a little bit. He asks question as to how a enlightened person behaves, but that is completely irrelevant to his present situation where he had to get up and fight the war. In chapter 3, Arjuna is much more receptive, and therefore he asks a practical question. Should I study or should I fight? So that's Karma Yoga. That leads to chapter 4, which is Yoga of Renunciation of Action in Wisdom. It's the Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. It is just not detachment, it is detachment in knowledge. That leads to true detachment, yoga of renunciation of action. It is actually never of action, it is actually renunciation in action. Nobody gives up action. Even an enlightened master is constantly acting. And then once the mind is fully detached, when the mind is in a spirit of renunciation, you're you're functioning in the world but without any desires, without nothing in the world tempts you, nothing in the world affects you. So it's a high state of spiritual evolution where a person is fully participating but has absolutely no worldly interest at all. He is not interested in anything the terrestrial world offers. He is not tempted, he is not affected. That's a state of detachment, participating yet completely detached. Then alone can we practice meditation. So, Dhyana Yoga, chapter 6. So, till here, there's a beautiful sequence of course, it continues, but there's a beautiful sequence of. Now, in chapter 3, we studied the spirit of Karma Yoga. Everybody is acting, but all actions are not yoga. Yoga is when we are attempting to unite with the self. Most of our actions are when it is self-centered or desire-ridden. Desire-ridden means it is being propelled from the level of the mind. There is no higher goal. The intellect is not participating. So if we are just doing what we feel like doing, following our desires, following our raga dvesha, likes and dislikes, if the attitude behind the action is selfish, we are attached to the action and there is egocentricity, then we will accumulate more desires. So we must remember the spiritual equation of life. ultimately, the message is that we need to reunite with the self, regain awareness of the self. At this very moment, any action or perception, any emotion or thought that we are able to perform or we are conscious of, it is because the Atman enlivens us. But we are not aware of the Atman. Why? Human minus desires minus thoughts equals the self. The state of godhood is nothing but complete thoughtlessness. So at the moment there is a lot of desires, lot of thoughts. Therefore we can't just sit and contemplate upon the self. We need to get rid of this desires. We need to get rid of this impurities. Can say, here I'm in Kerala. So there is a Muslim guy, a Sufi. He's been attending to the class. So he asked a very interesting question. He said, "What is this shaitan? What is this shaitan? Is it outside or inside?" So I explained to him and I said that shaitan is the ignorance, shaitan is the selfishness, and shaitan is the ego. He was so happy that whatever he was thinking, somebody is like somebody who is coming from a completely different background is confirming that the shaitan is not outside, the shaitan is inside. Our own selfish tendencies, our own ego, our own ignorance. He says, yes, we need to have the intellect to kill that shaitan, to fight that shaitan. So you can't sit and take out these impurities. We got to get into activity. Whatever activity, action in a spirit of karma yoga. If you remember the overall picture, action is a must. Even if you want to enjoy life, you need to keep the body fit. Inaction is death. So we got to first of all start acting. Arjuna, Sri Krishna, he emotionally appeals to Arjuna. If you stop acting, the whole world will come to a standstill. You are a leader, you must act. And he gives the example of Janaka is acting. So he gives the example of others who are acting. That was the emotional appeal. Then he goes into the intellectual appeal. If you have to realize yourself, become aware of yourself, you need to exhaust your vasanas. Therefore, act in a spirit of yajna. When we act, any other activity, non-yajna activity binds you to the body, mind, intellect. But when we act in a spirit of service and sacrifice, we will get whatever we want. We'll get peace, we'll get prosperity. Eventually, it promotes detachment from your body, mind, intellect. It makes you detached. And why we are doing it, that's where the message of the Gita is so powerful. You are the self. The self is complete. The self is supreme. Know that. Be aware of that. Since the self is supreme, it is not that we have to gain something from the world. Out of that, we gain the courage to be unselfish. Relatively also, if we are selfish and egocentric, the mind becomes very disturbed. The mind is stressed out. Even if you have no concept of the self. But if you practice unselfishness, to that extent, mind will be peaceful. It's a law. A selfish mind can never be happy. And a genuinely unselfish mind can never be agitated. It will be peaceful. And add to that the knowledge of the self, it makes all the difference. It gives you that courage or the inspiration. Okay, I need to be unselfish because I need to learn, I need to get detached. I need to get detached to my body, mind, intellect. So he says, not by actionlessness, you will not reach perfection. By acting in a spirit of karma yoga, spirit of service and sacrifice, you will exhaust your vasanas and get to the supreme. Actions without attachment leads you to the supreme. And he gives a formula for success. Keep the body active, let the mind surrender its likes and dislikes to a higher goal, and the intellect ensures that we are maintaining. Intellect ensures we have a good control of our body, of our thoughts and actions, and the subtle intellect attunes to the self. That's classical living, a spiritual action. You remember the self and keep acting in the present with concentration. This we need to practice with Shraddha. Shraddha, the capacity to pursue a goal until you reach it. A river has Shraddha. And he says if you don't have Shraddha, you'll go through hell. There'll be a lot of suffering. And then he gives Swadharma. Follow your Swadharma. Don't give in to your likes and dislikes. that force that makes us do things which we do not want to do is the force of rajas. Out of rajas comes kama, desire, krodha, anger. So to control that rajas, I think it's verse 40 or 41, he says, go to the higher. Greater than the senses is the mind. Greater than the mind is the intellect. And greater than the intellect is he, the self, the enlivening principle. Finally, we concluded last class by saying the two pedals to progress. A little bit of abstinence, little bit of withdrawal from whatever you consider negative. Now you're gaining so much knowledge. Now you know what is negative. Little bit of withdrawal from that aspect of life which is preventing your progress towards your worldly goal or your spiritual goal. Withdraw a little bit, put in that effort, and substitute it or complement it with a little bit of knowledge. Keep gaining higher values of life, keep developing the intellect, keep gaining knowledge of the self. A little knowledge give you the strength to abstain little bit more from that negative aspect of life. We don't have to stay away from the positive aspect of life, of course not. But negative, if it's difficult to drop off completely, withdraw gradually, slowly, surely. Withdraw a little bit, gain more knowledge. So if he functions in this spirit of karma yoga, in a spirit of genuine spirit of service and sacrifice, one word for your karma yoga is yajna, spirit of yajna, spirit of sacrifice. The whole idea is to reduce our ego and remember the Supreme Self. So then we are promoted from class 3 to class 4, chapter 4. Yoga of renunciation of action in wisdom. Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. It is never giving up of action. It is always escalating to a higher dimension, to a spiritual dimension. When the intellect reflects and contemplates upon higher values of life and starts appreciating it, sees the value for it, then automatically the thoughts towards the lower will stop. Then you are detached from the lower. You can't give up the lower, we have to take up something higher. It's never giving up, it is always taking up something higher. In action, we have to drop the craving for the fruit, the egoistic doership. Action never should be dropped. What is the wisdom? I need to be detached in action. What is this detachment? To simply put, don't keep craving for the fruit of action. Surrender to the divine will. Whatever we deserve will come helplessly, automatically it will come. There is no power in the universe that can prevent us from getting what we have deserved through right effort. And there is no need to become egoistic. Again, remember the divine. Without the power of the self, nothing is functioning. Fourth chapter is one of there are so many highlights in the Gita. Probably about the 701 verses, perhaps 200 verses are really, really giving fantastic philosophy. Others are repeating, are sort of reinforcing the same. The fourth chapter is very famous because of the portion of 12 yajnas. It has 42 verses. There is the topic division, which is original contribution of Swamiji's research. When he started writing the commentary on the Gita, he thought it will be useful to break the chapters into topics. So the topic division is not in the original Gita, but it helps us to understand the thought flow. Because this is just a conversation. Arjuna and Krishna are just talking. Does anybody know? I should know this actually. Does anybody know how long the chanting of the Gita will take? The entire 701 verses. I don't know, maybe a couple of hours, I don't know.
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours?
Yes.
Yeah, so 700 verses to talk. So they're having just a conversation, not on the coffee table in the battlefield, but it's just a conversation. And Arjuna has got some message that he rose up and fought the battle. Similarly, we have to rise up and face the challenge of life with equanimity, remembering the Supreme. Nobody's life is free of challenges. Everybody's life has some challenge or other. If you intelligently read stories about people's life whose challenges are much, much bigger. See, we are all in between. We are never at the lowest rung where my life is the most challenging life in the whole world. That is a very, very egoistic statement. Neither can we say that, oh, my life is completely free of challenges. And if it is that is the case, congratulations. You have done really good karma that there was no challenge in your life. Everybody is in between, right? So if you find people who are less fortunate, be grateful. Gratitude will calm the mind. If you find people who are suffering more, then your challenge becomes relatively easier to. At both sides, there is gratitude actually. If you look at people who have less challenges, less fortunate. Okay, so I put it wrong. Your challenge, it seems that your challenge is bigger than other people who are more lucky. Then the attitude should be, this is what I am capable of handling. Therefore, it's come to me. That divine wisdom has given you this challenge to grow and become stronger. So either you have the strength to say that, okay, I must have caused some kind of pain or hurt to others, so it is coming back. Let me gracefully endure it. Or you can look at positively that the divine is going, making you go through this training, this hardship, so that you come out stronger. Like I say, all sportsmen, athletes hate their coaches when they are training. After winning the Grand Slam, they say thank you. I was reading today's paper where a sinner, who is not a sinner, is thanking his coaching team that thank you for being there with me. Because of you, we won the. He said blood, sweat, and something else. Third word was there. Uh, Something third word. There was two words. Three words were there. Anyway, he was thanking his coaching team. But when he's training, he is internally cursing the teacher. Don't externally curse the teacher. That's not good. They hate the teachers because they are making them go through so much of hardships. But the result of that, you become tougher. Next time when that challenge comes, it's easier to deal with. Or we don't know. Our past is so past. The past is such a long past. We really don't know what we have done. So many people say that uh, why is this happening to me? I don't deserve it. If we say that, we are indirectly disrespecting the divine. We are insulting the divine, and it's not in our interest to develop a sort of a ill feeling or hatred towards the source, which is the source of absolute solace, absolute strength. That is the why. That is the reason we are studying the Gita. The spirit in us, spirit inside us, the consciousness inside us. It is absolutely fair to one and all. It is not partial. Then it is not something to be worshipped. If it is divine, if it is pure, it is absolutely fair. It just cannot go wrong. The system is so the cause and effect is implemented in a way. It's inbuilt. Wherever there is a world, cause and effect is functioning with mathematical precision. The divine has set it in motion. It's not like actively making the cause into effect. It is set into motion. Whatever is the cause, it will automatically become the effect. And we surrender to the divine wisdom and we say, thy will be done. It knows much better what should happen, when it should happen, than our little intellect. It is our ego or ignorance that makes us believe that, oh, this has been unfair. See, in one-to-one transaction, life may seem unfair. I am doing good to others and that person hurts me back. But overall, life is never unfair. So therefore, we have to just surrender that higher power knows, that higher wisdom knows what we need better than a man like me. Olive tree. He who made knows what it needed better than a man like me. So um, the divine wisdom knows what we need. So if the challenge is great, this is what I need to go through, this is what I am capable of handling so that I can come out stronger on the other side. And if you read stories of other people's challenges, and I think every day's newspaper will have certain things happening in the world, which we'll say, thank God, it's not me or my immediate family. You feel for them, but you thank God that it's not happening to us. So when you see the sufferings others are going through, your own suffering becomes very little. So ultimately, whatever, some good, whether it's gratitude, whether it's surrender, we have to get into some right thought and feeling to calm the mind and then fight our battle. So what Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, end of the Gita, end of that 2.5 hours of conversation of the Gita, he rises and fights. So same thing we have to do. We have to get the message, remain calm, remain strong, and fight our challenge. Fight means not fight. Take up actions to conquer our challenge. Um, so there are many highlights in the Bhagavad Gita. Fourth chapter is highlighted because of the fourth topic. Turiya, fourth chapter and fourth topic. The fourth topic is 12 yajnas. This chapter has 42 verses. First topic, self is the eternal teacher. Consciousness is the teacher. 10 verses. How the self relates to action. How the actions of the enlightened are not binding. So it's being given so that we try to act with that in the same way. By copying the life of an enlightened master in his attitude to action, we will reach that state as we perform. That's how the result will come. And then the 12 yajnas, sacrifice. All yajnas culminate in wisdom. Krishna's advice to gain wisdom. 12 yajnas is one of the most subtlest part of the Gita. Generally, Swamiji will read the verse and he will know what he says, what is what is being communicated, and it will kind of effortlessly flow. But there are certain verses in the Gita. It's called knots of the Gita, which took him a long time. Verses 6 and 7 of chapter 3, the self-control. We will not get it because it's just too subtle for us. Where is the subtlety? The master will say this verse is complicated, and the explanation also he gives. For example, the last verse that we covered, if you just go by the translation, thus knowing that which is greater than the intellect, restraining the self by the self, O Mahabhaho, kill the enemy in the form of desire hard to conquer. But these two first, thus knowing that which is greater than the intellect and this term, restraining the self by the self, this means a little bit of withdrawal, little bit of abstinence from the negativities. The two pedals, once he has explained it, it's very, very easy to kind of understand and practice it. If you just read the Sanskrit, it's impossible to get into that a simple kind of explanation. First, what is greater than intellect only we don't know. It's only a self-realized master that can talk about the self. And that is also highlighted in the first topic. Self is the eternal teacher. 12 yajnas, 12 yajnas is one of the more subtle, very, very subtle part of the Gita. If you want to compare which Bhagavad Gita commentary is good, you can take any Gita and you compare this 12 yajnas portion, what Swamiji has commented and what others are saying. It is one of the most fascinating portions which helps us to convert every activity into worship. All human activities, the entire, whatever anybody is doing, the entire range of human activities is kind of segregated into 12 activities. It is how Sri Krishna conceived of it, or whoever wrote the Gita conceived of it. It's a work of genius, whereby we can convert every activity into worship. And there are so many different angles. You miss one, you get into the. If you miss one, you can't miss the other, as it were. So from morning to night, whatever a human being is doing, with this knowledge of the 12 yajnas, we can convert every activity into worship. Converting the activity into worship means just remembering the divine. As you think, so you become. You remember your body all the time, body conscious, you become physical. The world will really trouble you. If you are all the time caught up in emotions, emotional turmoil, become emotional, that's a different realm of existence. you're all the time dealing with thoughts and ideas, you live as an intellectual person. That's a worldly person. But if you are functioning with your body, mind, intellect, remembering the divine, it's a question of time. You will keep on exhausting your ignorance, the shaitan, killing the shaitan, exhausting your ignorance, exhausting your vasanas, liquidating your ego. Finally, you become the supreme. So, I've been lucky to hear that fourth chapter several times from Swamiji live, and every time he would not say this all the time. See, it is a fact that to study the Gita is a great blessing. It's a great fortune just to be able to teach or listen to the Bhagavad Gita. But particularly the 12 yajnas. Hopefully we'll reach it. I don't know. Maybe in a month's time we'll reach it. So listening to the 12 yajnas even once, when I first heard it, it makes you feel that once you know it, you can never forget it. You have to just know it once and you can immediately practice. Immediately practice, there are certain things which you can immediately practice. It is so helpful to convert every activity into worship. So whenever we come there, we'll come there. We can't jump. We'll go to 12 yajnas. And then there are two other topics. There's a fourth topic. And then all yajnas culminate in wisdom. So all that, practicing the 12 yajnas culminates in wisdom. So Krishna finally says, gain wisdom. That will lead to true detachment, which is chapter 5. Anybody has any question? Otherwise, we'll chant the first verse.
श्रीभगवानुवाच इमं विवस्वते योगम् प्रोक्तवानहमव्ययम् विवस्वान्मनवे प्राह मनुरिक्ष्वाकवे ब्रवीत्.
There are some chapters where Arjuna starts with a question, like chapter 3, Arjuna started with a question. And some chapters, Sri Krishna continues. So here he continues. The Blessed Lord said, I declare this imperishable yoga, the spiritual practices that takes us to the ultimate reality, which is imperishable. I declare this imperishable yoga to Vivaswan. Vivaswan taught it to Manu. Manu taught it to Ishwaku. Yeah. Sri Krishna is saying, I was the first coach and I taught it to my disciple, and then that disciple taught it to his disciple. Now, we are not familiar with these words, Vivaswan, Manu, Ishwaku. Arjuna was familiar with it. I don't know. It's like, let's say, I'm just making up, Stephen Edberg is saying, he is a tennis player. And I taught it to Pete Sampras. Sampras says, I taught it to Federer. Federer said, I taught it to Sinha. I was the first teacher. But then Vivaswan lived many, many generations back. Like long time back. See, the only point is, what is the imperishable yoga? I've highlighted it. Yoga is a technique of removing vasanas. Human minus vasanas is the state of Godhood. State of Godhood is the state of absolute peace and bliss. We are suffering because we are not aware of the self. We are not aware of the self because of impurities. That is the vasanas. When you live your life in a spirit of yoga, you are reducing your vasanas. So yoga is a technique of removing vasanas by which this individuality merges with the Supreme Self. You understand your relationship with the body, mind, intellect. You are not the body, mind, intellect, you are the self. So Krishna is saying, I have taught this technique to Vivaswan and Vivaswan to Manu. Vivaswan was the sun god and Manu was the son of Vivaswan. The father teaches the son. And there is a beautiful saying, when everything was good, not like in today's world, when everything was sort of perfect, when there was a lot of wisdom in the world, the mother would introduce the child to the father would introduce the child to the guru, and the guru will give the knowledge of the God and slowly the individual will move towards perfection. Mother to father, father to guru, guru to guru will impart the knowledge of God. So sometimes the father himself is the guru. Here Vivaswan taught Manu. Today sometimes it's ulta. The son is probably telling dad, what did you do? Or mom, what did you do? Learn a little bit of scriptures. Don't just live a worldly existence and pass away. Try to understand what is the purpose of human mission and get back and purpose of human life and gain this knowledge. So everything is now like a lopsided because this knowledge is not available in the schools. And that's what he says in the next verse. Manu was the son of Vivaswan, the ancient lawgiver of India, the ancestor of the Solar dynasty. Ishwaku was the first king of Solar dynasty. So Manu taught Ishwaku. The mention of these great and ancient personalities inspired Arjuna. It's not inspiring us because we don't know them. But Arjuna knew them. So he's inspiring them that I have taught this knowledge to these people. Inspired Arjuna with profound respect. Arjuna had great respect and regard. Using these names, Krishna glorifies the value of the yoga imparted. Now, so if you go back to the verse, he says, I declared this imperishable yoga. How can Krishna, who was born now means Arjuna's time, teach this to somebody who lived hundreds of years ago? So that's where we have to start thinking. It is not the body, mind, intellect that is communicating this knowledge. So again, you have to go back to the basics. Every human being is a combination of matter and spirit. A normal individual who is not enlightened, he is identifying with the body, mind, intellect. He remains with his individuality. He remains with his ego and he says, I am Basab. When I say I am imparting, I am referring to the personality Basab. But when the person becomes enlightened, he has transcended the body, mind, intellect. His identification is now 100% with the self. The body, mind, intellect has become like a shadow following him. He is in charge of it. But he is fully attuned to the self. That is enlightened person. 100% attuned to the self. So when an enlightened person says, I have taught, it is not Mr. Krishna's personality has taught. It is the self in Krishna which has taught. And that's where we understand why all these great masters say, come on to me, I'll save you. Come on to me means come on to not my personality as Christ or Mahavir or Buddha or Valmiki or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, any master. When they are saying come on to me, they have done enormous tapas, enormous sacrifice, enormous spiritual disciplines to rise above the body, mind, intellect and attune to the self. They have become the self. And they see the self in all beings. So they have become an ocean of compassion. They have become an ocean of wisdom. So when they are saying, come on to me, that me is not the personality, they are referring to the self. So whoever was the enlightened master in Vivaswan's time, he was also attuned to the self. The self is eternal. The consciousness is all-pervading. It is eternal. Eternal means what? It was there in the past, it is there in the present, it is there in the future. Right now, we are aware of our memory from our birth till now. Right? So we are aware of a limited time span. Our memory is limited. But the self knows what is happening in your life, in your experiences. The self knows what has happened in the past, this moment backwards, eternally. It knows everything. It is the pure consciousness that is aware of everything. So when Krishna says, I have taught it to Vivaswan, obviously it doesn't make any sense that Krishna taught him. He is alive now. How can Krishna teach it? It is the consciousness, the self which has taught Vivaswan. Self is eternal. That's why the topic is self is the eternal teacher. So what is inspiring about this is when anybody is talking on the scriptures, it is not my personality that is teaching, is what teaches what communicates the knowledge is the self in me. So therefore we say, to the extent you have unfolded the self. To that extent alone, you can communicate. It's very fascinating concept. This will be covered more elaborately in the 12 yajnas. You can make a note of it. One of the beautiful verses is verse 28, where he says, the greatest service that we can do to the world is to know yourself. A movie is going on, the actor has forgotten his real identity. He says the greatest service you can do is to know your true identity. Verse 28 says, the greatest service anybody can do in this world is to know their self. Find yourself, discover yourself. Tat Tvamasi, that thou art. So because to the extent you have unfolded yourself, to that extent you can communicate the knowledge of the self. And everything is this knowledge. When I say everything is this knowledge, the real source of peace, self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency is the opposite of depending on the world. World is constantly fluctuating. If we are dependent on the world, we will go through ups and downs. We'll suffer. Self-sufficiency is whatever may be happening in the world, you have your inner strength and wisdom to stay calm. This ability to be equanimous under all circumstances comes from the depth of Atma Vidya, knowledge of the self. And who can communicate the knowledge of the self? One who has unfolded his self. Shri Krishna is an avatar Purush. Avatar Purush means he's almost realized at birth. Therefore, when he was born, the prison doors opened. Like magic, it opened. Again, it's symbolic that the infinite self cannot be confined to this finite body, mind, intellect. Birth in the prison is indication that we are quarantined in the body, mind, intellect. Traditionally in India, we don't celebrate birthdays. Our grandparents did not know their birthdays because it's the birth of the ego. It's the day you have entered the prison. What are the prison walls? Time, space, causation. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Perception, emotion, thoughts. We are entered in the prison. That's the birth of the ego. Now life is to get out of that prison. Why will you celebrate? Today is the day I have entered the prison. But today's culture is such, we celebrate the birthday. Otherwise it will be chaos. At least get together and have some fun. But remember, the life is to escape from this prison. Transcend the body, mind, intellect. Go beyond the perception, emotion, thought, and become aware of what is enlivening the perception, emotion, and thought. Break the walls of time, space, causation. It's not a physical wall. That's why to Arjuna he says, conquer the desire, hard to conquer because it's not an external enemy. He is looking for that enemy. He said, no, his desire is an internal enemy, hard to conquer, hard to break the walls of time, space, causation. So to the extent a person has unfolded his self, to that extent alone he can communicate the self. Self is everything. Self is everywhere. Self is infinite. Self is everywhere, in every being, in everything. Self alone exists, nothing else. And that self is absolute bliss. An enlightened soul knows it. He alone is reveling in God consciousness, so he can impart that God consciousness. When a baby is born, it is not even aware of its surroundings. And slowly, the parents teach the baby, don't touch that, you don't hurt yourself. Slowly the baby gains what we can say local consciousness by being with the parents, by being with whoever is taking care of the baby. The other people who are taking care of the baby have that local consciousness. Local means the consciousness of the surrounding. Stephen, I'll just complete this thought and I'll take up your question. Similarly, only an enlightened master is reveling in God consciousness, is reveling in eternal peace and bliss. For us, it's like a Harry Potter story. Is this possible? Is this even true? And since great masters in different periods of history have said the same thing, we have faith in it. And if you are lucky, you will be, you may have seen such people functioning in real life. So from the depth of their experience, they are saying, from the depth of their experience, they are talking about the consciousness. So Krishna has unfolded his self 100%. He is able to impart it to Arjuna 100%. Arjuna will receive it to the extent he is qualified. Okay, let me take this question. Why is that bliss too much of a good thing? See, Stephen, if you say, suppose a person is very healthy, will you say this, that I'm very, very healthy? Health is our original state. There is no such thing as I'm very, very healthy. Being very, very healthy is not a problem. The problem is disease. The problem is agitation. Peace, that bliss. See, right now we are only talking about worldly pleasures. Worldly pleasures will entangle you in the world. What pleasure are you talking about? Are you talking about a physical pleasure? Then you will get entangled in the body. If you're talking about an emotional pleasure, you will get entangled in the mind. If you're talking about some kind of a intellectual pleasure, you will get entangled with the mind. If you're talking about the bliss of the infinite, it is not experiencing it, it is becoming that bliss. Too much of it is never a problem. It is your original state.
But I think this is why it's a process to be able to take in that, to be able to kind of make space for that.
Correct. Empty thyself, I shall fill thee. When we have too many worldly thoughts, if we are too entangled with worldly desires, there is no space for the divine to enter, as it were. So empty thyself, like the flute has emptied itself. Flute traditionally has 9 holes representing our human body. Don't start counting. But flute has emptied itself. That's why Krishna picks it up. So when we empty ourselves with desires, we eradicate our desires, empty ourselves all these rajasic and tamasic tendencies, empty ourselves of selfishness and ego, and surrender to the divine fills us, as it were. So too much, if you are asking if what was your original? No, this is not right to, I mean, it's incorrect to say too much. It's not never too much. That is our original state. When you regain the state of bliss, you will be at rest. You will be absolutely still within. And then you carry on whatever is your role is. Whatever is your role in life, you carry on playing. It's like, see, entire nature, cloud is just giving rain. Trees are giving fruits. Earth produces vegetation. When a person becomes enlightened, he becomes like part of nature. Whatever is nature, he just expresses itself. And most of the time, it is for the welfare of the world. Within himself, he is absolutely at rest, absolutely still. He is in infinite peace and bliss. So to the extent a person has unfolded the self, he can communicate the knowledge of the self. From the receptive point, receiver's point of view, that is also very, very interesting. If you go to the ocean with a mug, you'll get a mug of water. If you go to the ocean with a bucket, you'll get a bucket of water. If you go with the ocean with a tanker, you'll get a tanker of water. So the person in front of you teaching this knowledge may be Krishna or Buddha or Mahavir. But if your receptivity is not there, you are fully entangled in the world, you will not receive it. But if you are doing your sadhana, tapas, if you are doing your obligatory duties properly, and there is one of the beautiful verses in the 4th chapter, verse 34, which says, Prashnena pranipatena sevaya. Sevaya, through service to the teacher, through devotion to the teacher, and by questioning, like how you're questioning. By questioning, you gain this knowledge from a perfect teacher. So perfect teacher is one who has unfolded his self. If I have unfolded myself 60% or 70%, I can communicate 70%. Your receptivity will depend on how much of unselfishness you have, how much of devotion you have for the knowledge, how much of spirit of inquiry you have. You're not receiving the thoughts mechanically. You are receiving it after understanding it. Till you don't understand, you question with devotion. You're not questioning with challenge, but you're questioning so that I can understand and live it. It's not a collection of information. It is for us to transform ourselves. So,
I guess what.
Sorry. Yes, go ahead.
I guess what I'm saying is, why is it too much of a good thing for the ignorant, so to speak?
For the ignorant.
Well, it's like looking at the sun, because the sun is extremely dazzling.
Uh, repeat your question again. Yeah, you can't look at the sun too much, right? But how are you comparing that to the bliss of the self, which is infinite?
Because it's immense, isn't
Right,
it?
and it is immense, and that is our original state. That is what we really deserve. That is what we are. But right now, with no awareness, we are almost like begging at the doors of the world for petty pleasures, physical pleasures, emotional joy. So that's why you say, Hanta, Hanta, alas, alas, said the Upanishad. You are a king behaving like a beggar. You are the king of kings, god of gods. Alexander Kelkrick, he says, you're the monarch of all that you survey. Everything is the self. As I said, remember that beautiful definition. The self is infinite, it is everywhere, it is all pervading, it is in everyone, it is in every being. It is the essence and quintessence of everything. And that is what we really are. Now, put that down theoretically, and what is our condition? Every little thing or whatever, we are so disturbed by the world because we have forgotten our nature. It's not that we don't have it. That example of the beggar who was actually the king's son and he had become the king. He's begging for 17 years, 18 years is begging. It's not that he's begging because he was not the king. The moment his father passed away, he had become the king. But he's begging because he did not know that he was the king. The knowledge was not there. Similarly, we are infinite bliss. We have to start convincing our mind that that is who we really are, that is what I really deserve. Therefore, I am not going to sell myself for these worldly pleasures which comes and goes. Deal with it as much as required, but we should not get lost in it because we are the self. We have to seek the self. The message of this verse is it is the consciousness that is teaching. So therefore, if I have to be a perfect teacher, I have to unfold myself 100%. To the extent I have unfolded myself, to that extent I can impart it. Now, your receptivity would depend on your preparation. Now, so from the student's point of view, even if, let's say, the master is like a fake guru, and unfortunately, there are a lot of fake gurus in the world. But if you are well prepared, you will receive a lot. I have seen cases where the teacher is a crack, not a good teacher, not a wise teacher, but the disciple is so sincere. See, even the fake guru is also repeating the scriptures. Your sincerity with which you listen to what is being said, that is enough for you to, like what you call, accelerate, or there can be an explosion in your spiritual growth if your sincerity is there. So, what is the message? Unfold yourself. Whether you're on this side as teaching or on that side as a student, take steps to unfold yourself. The more you unfold yourself, the more peaceful you become, the more free you become, the more stronger you become, the more self-sufficient you become. So it is not the body, mind, intellect that is communicating the truth. It is the self which is teaching. Yes, Stephen.
Just very quickly, just to kind of wrap it up. How I understand it is that it's a process for the mind to the intellect to kind of grasp, this.
Right. As the mind becomes purer and purer and the intellect becomes subtler and subtler, means stronger, you are able to receive the knowledge of the divinity. This truth is one. It's not difficult. It's not difficult to give out the ultimate truth. Brahman, the consciousness, the self alone exists, nothing else. Everything that we are experiencing, the entire world, everything, every being, is an expression, is a manifestation of that Brahman. That alone exists, and our true identity is that Brahman. If you can stay with that, the message of the Gita is complete. But we are not able to stay with that because the mind at the present is very gross. It's stuck with worldly desires. And the intellect is not that sharp. So sadhana, as you're saying, it's a process. The spiritual disciplines of karma, bhakti, jnana, it is making the mind purer, more stabler. And the intellect more sort of subtler to receive that knowledge. See, the second prayer that we do, let everybody be happy, nobody suffer. It's expanding the mind. Just from me, my family, to let everybody be happy. So when the mind expands to accommodate the welfare of one and all, without exception, such a mind listening to the knowledge of the self, it's like the impact will be far, far greater than a non-receptive mind. Okay, what is this Gita class? Anyway, I'm bored Sunday morning, nothing to do. Okay, let me try it out. Somebody saying, so that'll, if you're, Krishna may come here and speak, 110% self-unfoldment is there, he's giving out. But if the receptivity is not there, you'll miss it. So it's both sides. The more we have unfolded, the more we can impart, the more we are ready and prepared through devotion, unselfishness, spirit of inquiry, the keenness to learn. I remember Swamiji saying that teaching this knowledge is not difficult. I mean, it requires a little bit of training, but to make the students keen to learn, it's a different exercise altogether. Verse 2.
एवं परम्परा प्राप्तम् इमं राजर्षयो विदुः सकाले नेह महता योगो नष्टः परन्तप.
Thus handed down in succession, Vivaswan to Manu, Manu is Baku. It was there in the family itself. The father would impart it to the son, to the children. They would impart it to the next generation. So this is what we say, Guru Shishya Parampara. The king sages, the people who rule the world, they had the knowledge of the self. And where are we now? What are the world leaders, or what are the leaders doing today? How many of them have the genuine interest in functioning for the welfare of the world? If you listen to some of the intelligent people, they will only talk about, somebody was saying that COVID virus was not a real problem. It was a self-created problem to gain some power or some money or something. It's a crazy world in the sense, people are super intelligent with no values, no spiritual values, no spiritual goal at all. So they are only, there's like mass selfishness. Where is that compared to the rulers of the kingdom themselves are enlightened people, king sages, Raja Rishi. They knew this, but because of a long lapse of time. In India, the Sanskrit language itself was taken out from the education system. So generations of generations were denied this knowledge. Yet it is incredible. They say 800 years, this knowledge is not in the education system. I don't know what happened. But still, we are discussing Bhagavad Gita. It cannot be lost. India will always remain, this is just opinion, India will always remain as the spiritual capital of the world. One of the main contributions that we have for the world is to give out this knowledge of what we essentially are. Can you imagine there is a senior who heard one lecture in America of Swamiji, and he joined an ashram in Malavli. From Calcutta, I will think, why should I go to Malavli? That guy was in US, one lecture he came to. That's the confidence India has, which gives to the entire world. So we have to do our best to live the knowledge and ensure that we share it with others. And the sharing is not by force, sharing it is by living it. The sun does not need to advertise itself, it just needs to shine. So therefore, we have to learn this knowledge and do our best to share it with everybody. But the knowledge is not dependent on our contribution, it will be there. But by long lapse of time, it has been lost here. Today, in the education system, it's not there. When it will come back, we don't know. It is not a particular religion. It is not a particular ritualistic practice. It is not a belief in one particular God. It is a general knowledge of life and living. Sanatana Dharma, eternal principles of life and living which don't change. They have a universal application to members of all religion, members of all countries, to human beings. It's applicable to human beings. So it has been lost. In the commentary, he says there are 4 sources of gaining knowledge. One is called pratyaksha. You see something and you gain the knowledge. I see a tree and I say, okay, the tree looks like this, green in color, so many leaves, branch, etc. So direct perception. You just see. You see Kedarnath or Badrinath or the Mount Everest. Your perception is through the senses, right? Then there is another way of gaining knowledge. It's called inference. Anumana, I think. Anumana is inference. Inference is you don't directly see it, but you infer. So the common example is given is where there is a smoke, you infer there is fire. You are not able to see the fire, but because there is smoke, you are able to infer fire. I meet a German or a French, I don't know their language, but I know when they're happy or they're sad. By the expression of their face, I know, okay, they're not giving me the knowledge, but I infer from the expression, okay, this person is, there must something good has happened, he's happy. This person is going through, there's pain in the face. The other day, somebody showed me a video of a lady, just a 1-minute video, but by seeing her speak, we could clearly make out, you don't to have be spiritual, you could see that there's a lot of pain in her face. Now, let's say she's speaking in a language I don't know, Malayalam or something, but you infer from the expression that there is something going on inside her. So inference. So that's another way of gaining knowledge. And a very, very important way of communicating knowledge of Vedanta is upama. Upama is comparison. That's where we say our journey from the waking state of consciousness in which we are now to the state of enlightenment, Turiya, God consciousness, is very much similar to how the dreamer experiencing the dream world, completely lost in the dream world, suddenly he wakes up to the waking state. Then he realizes everything happening in the dream world was nothing but fibers and fibers of the waker's mind. He was sleeping in the bed and his mind projected a dream world. While you're in the dream, you can never conceive it. But the moment you wake up, you realize everything, every being, everywhere in the dream world, dreamer's family, everything in the dream is nothing but the waker's mind and mind alone. Then we infer, okay, just like how the dream from the dream world, the dreamer woke up to the waking state. Someday, if we exhaust our vasanas, get rid of our negativities and impurities, and contemplate upon the Supreme sufficiently, single-pointedly, constantly, we will wake up to the reality, and from the standpoint of reality, we will realize that the entire waking state is nothing but Brahman and Brahman alone. If the dream and waking state is not there, this would be like a real, it will be really inconceivable. How can everything in this, how can the plants, how can the birds, how can the insects, how can the ocean, water, mountains, everything, fire, earth, everything be Brahman? How is it possible? But for the comparison, we will never be able to get it. Because we have we can compare what happens when we fall into a dream and we wake up. That helps us to conceive, okay, there could be possibility of Turiya and we are in the waking state. The waking state itself is like a dream. And then what he's referring to, Guru Shishya Parampara, preceptor disciple lineage. It's a very sacred responsibility. The fact that we are listening to this knowledge, we are studying this knowledge, we are putting somebody or some people have put in time and effort to explain this clearly. It becomes our responsibility to live it and share it with others. We are now part of that parampara, thus handed down in succession. Guru Shishya, that Krishna imparted to Vivaswan, the self in Krishna imparted to Vivaswan, Vivaswan imparted to Manu, Manu to Ishvaku, and is continuing today till 2026. Is continuing. So our job is to just live it, and wherever possible, share it with others. Sharing is by living it only, but where a person comes to you for knowledge, knowledge is always given. Where you have a rapport, put that thought. Yesterday, a friend of mine was doing a video call with a little child, and the child was playing. So I say, just say something philosophical. Because child are like sponge; they'll easily grasp it. And he messages me back that he is asking, why is the world never ending? Why is the world infinite? 6-year-old, 7-year-old child. So wherever you have a rapport of friendliness, just share it. Just put 1 or 2 thoughts. Put that seed. You don't know how that seed will grow. Because we all have it, right? It's not the special privilege of a Valmiki or a Vyasa or a Krishna or Mahavir. We all have that same potential. We have all come out from that same source. We are all waves of that same divine ocean. So we all have that equal potential to become Krishna. That we have to realize. It's not that they had some special privileges. They have done the tapas. Now we also have the same divine potential. We have to work upon ourselves. So in the next verse, he says, I will teach it to you because you are my devotee and friend. We'll take it up properly in the next class. He says, you have surrendered, you are seeking knowledge, and you have a friendly rapport with me. In the commentary, he writes, friend is one who will trust you and sacrifice for you. Friend is one who is always there for you. He will point out your negativities. He will encourage your positivities. If it's the other way, please, it's not your friend. If he's encouraging your negativities and criticizing your positivities, then that's not a friend. That's a friend is one who will trust you. He will be there for you no matter what. He will encourage your positivities, and without hesitation, he will point out your negativities without imposing himself. There is that detachment in friendship, right? End of the day, you go your house, I go my house. As a friend, but we are there for each other. There's a beautiful love, detachment, and if it's true friendship, which is what we should be, I'll go to any extent to help you. So Krishna says, I will teach you this sacred knowledge because you're my devotee, you're seeking my help, and you're my friend. So the rapport between the student and the teacher makes a big difference. Spirit of devotion and friendliness helps us to receive the knowledge better. Unfortunately, we don't have any time, so we'll quickly do the prayer. Questions can be taken up in the next class. I have another class at 10, so sorry. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Everyone.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next week also online, 8:45.
Hari Om. Thank you, Vasanji.